Hello friends. Now we are started with the topic of shock. In part 1 also we studied some part of the shock. In today's lecture we are discussing the topic that is shock. So first see what is shock. Shock is a physiologic agent with many different causes, but if untreated it has single clinical outcome. Means shock, it is a clinical state which involves the different physiologic events, and if untreated that may leads to the mortality, and in this the mortality rate is about 20%. In the cases of shock it may be due to different types of shocks. In this first we will see what is shock. So, shock is a life threatening clinical syndrome, or we call it as a clinical state of cardiovascular collapse characterized by an acute reduction of effective circulating blood volume, that we call it as a hypotension. And second factor, that is an inadequate perfusion of cells and tissue. These are the two main events that occurs in the shock that causes the cardiovascular collapse. In this, the cardiac and vascular system of the body get collapsed due to these two reasons, and that causes an acute reduction of effective circulating blood volume. When there is acute reduction of effective circulating blood volume, and second one, that causes the inadequate perfusion of cells and tissues. This is the main definition of shock. If uncompensated, these mechanisms may lead to impaired cellular metabolism and death. When this shock goes into the uncompensated mechanism, they may lead to the impaired cellular metabolism, as the cell do not get the adequate amount of blood, and that causes the impaired cellular metabolism, and that cell goes into the state of death. The clinical manifestation of shock are the results of stimulation of the sympathetic and neuroendocrine stress responses, inadequate oxygen delivery, and end organ dysfunction. So what is the all the clinical manifestation of shock that results in the, that is stimulation of sympathetic and neuroendocrine stress responses. In this, due to the hypovolemia or due to any causes of the different shocks, that causes the sympathetic and neuroendocrine stress responses, that causes the inadequate supply of oxygen to the cells and tissue, and this inadequate supply of oxygen to the cells and tissue, that causes the cell death or the tissue anoxia, and that tissue anoxia causes the end organ dysfunctions. Means every organ of the body get having dysfunction, and that dysfunction leads to the cell death. And lastly, the human being also goes into the state of mortality. So this is the clinical manifestation of shock. Now there are different types of shock, or the classification of shock. In this, shock is mainly classified into two types, that is primary shock and secondary shock. Primary shock, it is also called as an initial shock, or we call it as a transient shock also. And second one, that is secondary shock, it is a true shock, or the actual pathogenesis of the shock that occurs due to the different causes that leads to the true shock, and this we call it as a secondary shock. And along with this, there is anaphylactic shock also. In this, the true shock, the circulatory imbalance between oxygen supply and the oxygen requirements at cellular level, hence the name circulatory shock also. As secondary shock or the true shock, it is also called as a circulatory shock, as there is circulatory imbalance between oxygen supply and the oxygen requirements at the cellular level, hence it is also called as a circulatory shock. So there are two types of shock, primary shock and secondary shock. Primary shock also called as an initial shock, and secondary shock, it is called as a true shock, and it is also called as a circulatory shock. Then what is initial shock or the primary shock? So primary shock, it is a transient and usually benign vasovagal attack due to sudden reduction of venous return caused by neurogenic vasodilatation and consequent peripheral pooling of blood immediately following trauma, severe pain, emotional overreactions. As due to the causes, what are the causes of primary shock? In this, if there is severe trauma, if there is severe pain or any emotional overreactions like fear, sorrow, surprise, that conditions causes the sudden or transient shock that we call as a primary shock. And what is the pathogenesis of that primary shock? As there is stimulation of neurogenic mechanism, and that neurogenic mechanism causes the neurogenic vasodilatation, and that vasodilatation causes the peripheral pooling of blood that causes the sudden reduction in the venous return to the heart, that causes the benign vasovagal attack, that we called it as a primary shock or the initial shock. So this is the primary shock, having a very transient and of short duration. Then in routine clinical practice, true shock is the form which occurs due to hemodynamic derangements with hypoperfusion, commonly referred to as shock. But the secondary shock, it is a true shock and it is caused due to the hemodynamic derangements with hypoperfusion, commonly referred to as a shock. So this is a true and the main shock, that is secondary shock. So according to etiology, shock is classified into, that is secondary shock again classified into different types. In this, the three main types of shock are: first one hypovolemic shock, second cardiogenic shock, third one septic shock. The other types may be, according to the etiology, it may be a traumatic shock, it may be neurogenic shock, it may be hypoadrenal shock, it may be anaphylactic shock, and so many. So these are the different types of shock. That is, first hypovolemic shock. What is hypovolemic shock? It is a reduction in the volume of blood, that is actual reduction of volume of blood, that leads to the hypovolemic shock. And it may be due to different reasons, that is it may be due to the hemorrhage, it may be external or it may be internal, it may be due to surgical causes, or it may be due to severe trauma that causes the reduction in the volume of blood, and that causes the hypovolemic shock. This is the first type of shock. Then second one, that is cardiogenic shock. What is cardiogenic shock? The cardiogenic shock, it is caused due to the cardiac causes or the acute circulatory failure due to the different cardiac diseases, and these cardiac diseases causes the decrease in the cardiac output or the reduction in the cardiac output. But this reduction in the cardiac output is not due to the actual reduction of the blood volume, but it is due to the acute circulatory failure or due to the different cardiac diseases. That is, it may be due to deficient emptying of the cardiac, it is due to the deficient filling of the cardiac, or it may be due to some obstructive nature of cardiac diseases, and that leads to the cardiogenic shock. But it is main difference between hypovolemic shock and cardiac shock is that in hypovolemic shock there is actual reduction of blood volume, but in cardiogenic shock there is no actual reduction of blood volume. There is decrease in the cardiac output due to the different diseases of the heart. Then third one, that is septic shock. So what is septic shock? Septic shock, it is due to the severe bacterial infection that causes the septic shock, or we also called it as a septicemia. In this, septic shock may be caused due to two factors. First one, it is due to the gram negative bacteria, and second one, that is it may cause due to the gram positive bacteria. When septicemia occurs due to the gram negative bacteria, we call it as a endotoxic shock, and in this the gram negative bacteria may be E. coli, proteases, Klebsiella, and so many. These are the gram positive bacteria which causes the endotoxic shock. Then in this, the gram positive bacteria, first one that is gram negative bacteria, secondly it is caused due to gram positive bacteria. In gram positive bacteria, that causes the exotoxic shock, as it secretes the exotoxin that leads to the exotoxic shock, and it may be due to the streptococci, pneumococci. These are the some of the bacteria that causes the exotoxic shock. So these are main three types of shock. First one, hypovolemic shock, second cardiogenic shock, and third septic shock. And some other types, that is traumatic due to trauma, neurogenic that is due to the spinal cord injury, then hypoadrenal shock. In this, the due to low flow or the reduced stroke volume, these are due to the hypovolemic shock, cardiogenic shock, and obstructive shock. And due to the peripheral arterial resistance, that is due to the vasodilatation, that leads to the septic shock, anaphylactic shock, and neurogenic shock. Then different types of shock, that is it may be vasovagal shock, it may be psychogenic shock, it may be neurogenic shock, it may be hypovolemic shock, it may be traumatic shock, it may be burns, then cardiogenic shock, septic shock, anaphylactic shock. So these are the different types of shock, but the main three types of shock, that is hypovolemic shock, cardiogenic shock, and the septic shock. Now what is the pathophysiology of the shock, or what is the pathogenesis of the shock? In pathogenesis of shock, it is caused due to different causes. The different causes in this we take as a hypovolemic shock may be caused due to hemorrhage, trauma, surgery, burns, dehydration, that leads to the condition of shock. And what happens in this condition? Then septic shock, that may be caused due to gram negative septicemia or gram positive septicemia. And in cardiogenic shock, it may occur due to different diseases of the heart, that may be due to deficiency of emptying, then deficiency of feeling, and the outflow obstructions, that leads to the pathogenesis of the shock. So these are the different causes that leads to the pathogenesis of shock. In this, the common pathogenesis of shock that occurs in all the types of shock, that is in this, first there is decrease in the effective circulating blood volume. As there is reduction in the blood volume, there is effective circulating blood volume get decreased, that leads to the decrease in the venous return to the heart. Due to this, there is decrease in the venous return to the heart, that leads to the decrease in cardiac output. When there is decrease the venous return to the heart, there is decrease in the cardiac output, and when cardiac output is decreased, the flow of blood to all the systems get reduced or decreased. And when there is decreased blood flow to all the systems of the body, that leads to the decrease in the supply of oxygen to the tissues or the cells. Due to decrease in the blood supply, that causes the decrease of oxygen supply to the cells. And when there is decrease in the oxygen supply to the cells, we call it as anoxia, that is reduced oxygen supply to the cells. And when there is reduced oxygen supply to the cells, that leads to the secretion of different toxins by the cells, or there is a procedure of cell injury, and that cell injury leads to the cell death. And when there is cell death, that leads to the condition that is shock. So this is the pathophysiology or the pathogenesis of shock due to different causes. It may be due to hypovolemic, it may be due to septic, or it may be due to cardiogenic shock. In cardiogenic shock, we consider it is due to the decrease in cardiac output without the actual reduction of the blood volume. So this is pathogenesis of shock. Then we shift toward the next important part of the shock, that is what are the stages of shock. Up till now we cover what is definition of shock, what are the types of shocks, then classification of shock according to the etiological factors, And third point we covered, that is pathogenesis of shock. After this, the main important point, that is stages of shock. What are the stages of shock? In this, the deterioration of circulation in shock is a progressive and continuous phenomenon as compensatory mechanism becomes progressively less effective. As shock is continuous process, or it is a decrease in the circulation in shock is a progressive and a continuous phenomenon. As there is decrease in the circulation, that leads to the progressive and continuous phenomena, and the compensatory mechanism becomes progressively less effective as compensatory mechanism cannot work, and in this way the shock progresses towards irreversible stage. As reversible stage goes towards the irreversible stage, in this step by step the patient goes towards the state of recovery, or it may goes to the death. So there are three stages in the shock. First one, that is non-progressive, also called as a initial compensated reversible shock. The first stage is a non-progressive. It is a non-progressive, it is a initial stage, it is a compensated mechanism working in this stage, and it is a reversible stage. As after the treatment or the removal of the cause, that leads to the reversible stage, that leads to the patient to the normal condition. So this is first stage, that is non-progressive, initial, compensated and reversible shock. Then second stage, that is progressive decompensated shock. When compensated mechanism gets fail, then it goes towards the second stage, that we call it as a progressive decompensated shock. And when this second stage is not recovered, then it goes towards the third stage, that we call it as a decompensated or the irreversible shock. At this stage the patient cannot goes to the normal condition, so this is the irreversible shock. After this stage the patient goes into the stage of death. So these are the three stages of shock. First one non-progressive, second one progressive decompensated, and third one, that is decompensated or the irreversible shock. After this we are going to discuss one by one the stages of shock. So started with the first stage, that is non-progressive, initial, compensated and reversible shock. So in this there is a chart given to explain about what is this first stage. In early stage of shock, an attempt is made to maintain adequate cerebral and coronary blood supply. So what happens in the shock? There is reduction in the blood volume, and that reduction in the blood volume, it may be due to different reasons, and after this the body maintain to adequate or to compensated mechanism in the body get activated, and that wants to body in a healthy condition or to maintain the body cells. And for this reason, in early stage of shock, an attempt is made to maintain adequate cerebral and coronary blood supply by redistribution of blood, so that the vital organs, that is brain and heart, are adequately perfused and oxygenated. As in the body, the two vital organs, that is brain and heart, these are the most important organs in the body, and when there is reduction in the blood supply to the body, then body automatically compensate the mechanism in the body that it have to maintain the cerebral and the coronary blood supply by the redistribution of the blood, so that these vital organs, that is the brain and heart, are adequately perfused and oxygenated. And this is achieved by the activation of neurohormonal mechanisms causing widespread vasoconstriction, and by the fluid conservation by the kidney. So this mechanism, that is to maintain the adequate blood supply to the heart and kidney, body stimulate the mechanism. In this it stimulate the, that is neurohormonal mechanism gets stimulated, and due to neurohormonal mechanism there are two main changes occurs in the body, that is widespread vasoconstriction, and due to this widespread vasoconstriction the supply of the blood to the peripheral organs get reduced. And second one, that is fluid conservation by the kidney, as there is reduction in the blood in the body, and to maintain that blood supply to the vital organs the kidney plays a role in the conservation of fluid in the body, that is there is decrease in the output of the fluid from the body. So these two mechanisms are stimulated, and for this reason there is sympathetic response, hormonal response and adrenal response. In this sympathetic response causes there is increase in the cardiac output, increase in the heart rate, and increase in the vasoconstrictions in the body, and that also leads to the increase in the peripheral vasoresistance by constriction of peripheral circulation. When there is stimulation of sympathetic mechanism, that sympathetic response gives there is increase in the heart rate, there is increase in the contractions, then there is increase in the peripheral vascular resistance by the vasoconstrictions, and due to this the peripheral pooling of the blood is stopped, and due to this the blood is supplied to the main organs, that is heart and brain. This is the first response given by the body, that is compensated mechanism. Then the second response is hormonal response. In hormonal response there is stimulation of pituitary gland, that pituitary gland causes the stimulation of ADH secretion, as there is stimulation of pituitary that causes the ADH secretion. And second one, that is adrenal gland stimulation, that causes the aldosterone secretion, and when there is secretion of ADH and aldosterone that causes the sodium water retention, and due to sodium water retention there is conservation by the kidney, and in this way the kidney conserves the fluid what is present in the body by the sodium water retention. Now the third mechanism, that is adrenal mechanism, that adrenal response causes, that is release of epinephrine, that causes the further increase in the vasoconstriction, that is widespread vasoconstriction all over the body, that causes the increase in arterial pressure, and that leads to the supply of blood, or to preserve the blood supply to the heart and kidney, that causes the supply of blood to the heart and brain. These are the two main vital organs, and by this compensated mechanism body preserves the blood supply, that is by the widespread vasoconstriction and the fluid conservation by the kidney by the three mechanism, that is sympathetic response, then hormonal response, and by adrenal response. That is by sympathetic response there is increase in cardiac output, increase in heart rate, increase in contractibility, and increase in the peripheral vascular resistance that causes the vasoconstriction. Then hormonal response causes secretion of ADH and aldosterone that causes the fluid conservation by the kidney. And the third, that is adrenal response, that causes the widespread vasoconstrictions that preserves the blood supply, and that blood supply is supplied to the vital organs, that is heart and brain. And in this mechanism the body compensated, as the compensated mechanism stimulated, body maintain the blood supply, and this is a reversible stage. At this stage, when there is the supply of blood or the therapeutic agents get acted, the patient goes into the normal stage also. So this is the first stage, that is non-progressive, initial, compensated and reversible stage of shock. Then second stage of shock, that is progressive decompensated. So what is this progressive decompensated shock? in this stage when the patient suffers from some other stress or risk factors, that is pre-existing cardiovascular or the lung diseases besides the persistence of shock, so that there is progressive deterioration. The effect of progressive decompensated shock due to tissue hypoperfusion are, that is what happens in this stage, that is after giving the treatment but the patient having some cardiovascular diseases or some lung diseases. In that case the body goes into the second stage, that is progressive decompensated stage, and in this stage there is pulmonary hypoperfusion with resultant trachepnea and adult respiratory distress syndrome. Means in this stage when there is shock continues, at this stage the systolic and diastolic pressure falls down, and when there is decrease in the systolic and diastolic pressure, that leads to the three conditions, that causes the decrease in the pulmonary oxygen supply, that leads to the cerebral blood flow, and in this the cellular hypoxia and decrease in the pulse pressure. Means at this stage there is decrease in the BP also and decrease in the pulse rate also, that causes the reduction of oxygen supply to the body. And at this condition, due to decrease in O2 supply, there is increase in the CO2 supply, CO2 by the body, that is increased production of CO2. And at this stage there is metabolic acidosis, that leads to the increase in the respiration to expel the carbon dioxide. So at this stage there is metabolic acidosis, and this leads to the tissue ischemia, that causes the decrease in cardiac and cerebral perfusion, and anaerobic metabolism, that leads to the end product, that is the lactic acid. So what happens at this stage? There are mainly two conditions occurs, that is pulmonary hypoperfusion, that leads to the adult respiratory distress syndrome also, that is due to the decrease in oxygen supply and increase of the CO2 by the body. Then the second mechanism that occurs at this stage is tissue anoxia, that causes anaerobic glycolysis, that results in the metabolic lactic acidosis. As there is no supply of oxygen to the cells and tissue, there is the mechanism, that is anaerobic glycolysis pathway or the mechanism increase, and when there is anaerobic glycolysis increase, there is the increase in the end product, that is lactic acid, and when there is increase in the lactic acid, that leads to the metabolic acidosis, and this lactic acidosis lowers the tissue pH, and which in turn makes the vasomotor response ineffective. And due to the production of lactic acid, that is pH of the body, which turns or which makes the vasomotor response ineffective. What is the vasomotor response? That is activated in the first stage, that gets ineffective in this stage due to the production of lactic acid or due to the metabolic acidosis, and this results in the vasodilatation, that results in the vasodilatation, that vasodilatation leads to the peripheral pooling of blood. So this is the second stage, that is progressive decompensated stage. The main two changes occurs in this stage. First one, that is pulmonary hypoperfusion, and second one, that is tissue anoxia, and that tissue anoxia leads to the anaerobic glycolytic pathway, that leads to the production of lactic acid, and after the production of lactic acid there is metabolic acidosis all over the body, and that metabolic acidosis affects the vasomotor response, that is activated in the first stage, that becomes ineffective, and that leads to the vasodilatation all over the body, and that causes the peripheral pooling of blood to the peripheral tissues, and due to peripheral pooling of the blood, there is decrease in the blood supply to the brain and heart, the main organs in the body. And due to this decrease in the blood supply to the brain and heart, the third stage comes, that is decompensated or the irreversible shock. So what happens in this mechanism, that is third stage? This is the irreversible stage. The irreversible stage, when there is decrease in the blood supply to the heart and brain. So when the shock is so severe that in spite of compensatory mechanism and despite therapy and the control of etiologic agent, when there is failure of compensatory mechanism and the despite therapy and the control of etiologic agent also, which cause the shock, that is no recovery takes place. And at this stage we called it as a irreversible shock, when there is no recovery takes place, and it is also we called as a decompensated shock. So what happens at this stage? As the shock continues, that causes the metabolites accumulates, and when there is precapillary sphincter dilates and the postcapillary sphincters remains constricted. At this stage, in the cells there is production of metabolites, and that metabolites accumulates in the cells as there is damage to the circulatory system. At this stage, the precapillary sphincters gets dilated due to vasodilatation, and the postcapillary sphincters remains constricted. Due to this, there is increase in capillary hydrostatic pressure. Due to this, there is accumulation of fluid in the vessels, and that causes the increase in the capillary hydrostatic pressure. And we know that when there is increase in the capillary hydrostatic pressure, that leads to the results in the fluid loss from the vascular space into the interstitial space. When there is increase in the capillary hydrostatic pressure, that leads to the fluid to come out from the vessel into the interstitial space, and due to this there is decrease in the vascular volume. As the fluid comes out from the vessel into the interstitial space, there is decrease in the vascular volume, and the decrease in the vascular volume causes the decrease in venous return to the right side of the heart. And when there is decrease in the venous return to the right side of the heart, that causes the further decrease in cardiac output, and in this there is further decrease of venous return to the right side of the heart, and that causes decrease in the cardiac output. When there is decrease in the cardiac output, then there is decrease in the blood flow, and that leads to the cellular necrosis and death of tissue, and that leads to the final stage, that is irreversible stage of shock. So in this we see that is the progressive fall in the blood pressure due to in cardiac output, decrease in the cardiac output attributed to release of myocardial depressant factors, that leads to the release of myocardial depressant factors, that is due to the progressive fall in the blood pressure. Then there is severe metabolic acidosis due to anaerobic glycolysis. That is, what are the changes that occurs in third stage of shock? In this first one, that is progressive fall in the blood pressure. Second, severe metabolic acidosis due to anaerobic glycolysis. Then third one, that is respiratory distress due to pulmonary edema, trachypnea, and adult respiratory distress syndrome, that is due to the pulmonary hypoperfusion. Then ischemic cell death of brain and heart and kidney due to reduced blood supply to these organs, and there is ischemic cell death of these cells of brain, heart, kidney due to the reduced blood supply to these organs. And clinically at this stage, the patient has features of coma, worsened heart function, and progressive renal failure due to acute tubular necrosis. So these are the different changes that we see at this stage, that is third stage of shock, that we called it as a decompensated or the irreversible stage. So this is the three stages of shock. First one, that is initial stage or the non-progressive stage, second one progressive stage, and third one that is irreversible stage. After this there are some stages, and along with this what is secreted in this stage, or the what is pathogenesis that occurs in this at this stage, and what are their effects. So in this first we will see initial shock. In initial shock you see that is secretions of baroreceptors that causes the peripheral vasoconstriction, then catecholamine that release that causes the cool and clammy skin, then renin-angiotensin activation that causes tachycardia, then ADH release and sympathetic stimulation, that is fluid conservation by the kidney by ADH release. So these are the different effects that cause due to different stimulations. Then in the second stage, that is progressive shock. In progressive shock you will see that is anaerobic glycolysis, lactic acidosis and lowered pH, and that causes the decrease in cardiac output, then mental confusion and decrease in the urinary output. And in the last stage of kidney you will see the pathogenesis as there is persistence vasoconstriction, then vasodilatation and vascular permeability, then release of myocardial ischemia, then cerebral ischemia, intestinal factor, bacterial factor, then hypercoagulability of blood, and this causes the effects like in brain you see brain death, in lungs you will see that is acute respiratory distress syndrome, in heart you will see focal myocardial necrosis, in kidneys you will see ATN, in liver necrosis, spleen hyperplasia, stomach ulcer, intestine necrosis. So these are the different effects that are caused due to the secretion of different factors in the different stages of shock. So these are the different stages of shock, that is initial stage, progressive stage, and third one that is irreversible stage. Now what are the clinical features you see in the shock? As up till now we studied what is definition of shock, then types of shock according to the etiological factors, then pathogenesis of shock, then stages of shock. After stages of shock, the main point is what are the clinical presentation of shock, or what are the clinical features. In this you will see first one that is hypotension, that is decrease in the blood pressure, that is systolic blood pressure may decreased below 100 mm of Hg. Then you will see that is tachycardia, that is increase in the heart rate, then cold clammy skin, then rapid shallow respiration due to ARDS, then drowsiness, confusion, irritability due to the brain death or the cell death of brain, then oliguria, that is due to the fluid conservation by the kidney, that is urine output decrease due to the hypovolemia, then elevated and reduced central venous pressure and multi-organ failure. In this, after the last stage of shock you will see there is multi-organ failure due to the cell death of every system of the body. So these are the main clinical features or the clinical presentation of the shock. In this, the general principles in management. So how you will manage the case. In this, the patient should be treated in ICUs preferably, then continuous electrocardiographic monitoring must be there, then pulse oximetry. A reduction of elevated serum lactate levels is one good indicator of a successful resuscitations and is often used as a therapeutic goal. As these are some of the general principles in management. The management part is important from the medicine part of point, but in this, from the pathological point of view, you should know what is pathogenesis and what are the stages of shock. Then how you will assess the shock. In this you must know maintain the airway of the patient, you must maintain the breathing, and you must maintain the circulation. This is called the initial assessment of shock, that is ABC. And in cases of trauma, you have to maintain the ABCD, that is along with airway, breathing and circulation, you have to maintain the disability of the patient and the exposure of the patient, that is trauma patients. Then effects of shock. In effects of shock, what are the widespread effect of shock on the different system of body? In this, first, that is cardiovascular system, how the different systems of body get affected, what is the main pathological factors that affects the system, or what happens in these systems due to the shock. So these are the different effects of shock. First, in cardiovascular system, in cardiovascular system you will see that is decreased of preload and afterload, that is in the cardiovascular system decrease in the, that is due to decrease in the volume of blood, there is decrease of preload and afterload, and baroreceptor response gets stimulated, then release of catecholamines, then there is tachycardia, vasoconstrictions. These are the different effects you will see in cardiovascular system due to shock. Then in respiratory system you will see that is metabolic acidosis, that is due to decrease of O2 supply and due to the anaerobic glycolysis, there is metabolic acidosis, including respiratory rate and excretion of carbon dioxide, that results in compensatory respiratory alkalosis. So these are the changes that we see in the respiratory system. Then in renal and endocrine, there is decrease in the cardiac output to conserve the fluid, then stimulation of renin, angiotensin and aldosterone axis, that release of vasopressin from the hypothalamus, resulting in vasoconstriction and increase of sodium water reabsorptions. These are the two main changes in the renal and endocrine system. In combination, there is sodium water retention and widespread vasoconstriction. Then what happens in the microvascular circulation, that is activation of immune and coagulation system, hypoxia and acidosis activates complement and prime neutrophils, oxygen free radicals and cytokines released, damaged and endothelium fluid leak out and edema occurs. That is in the microcirculation, due to the endothelial damage, there is release of fluid from the vessel into the interstitial space, and that causes the edema. Then in cellular region, what happens in actual cell, that is cells switch from aerobic to anaerobic metabolism. As there is decrease in the O2 supply to the cells, there is shifting of aerobic to anaerobic metabolism, and that decreased ATP production, there is lactic acidosis, that leads to the glucose exhaust and the anaerobic respiration ceases, that causes the sodium potassium pump impaired, and lysosomes release autodigestive enzymes, that causes the mitochondrial damage, and that leads to the cell death. This we studied in the pathogenesis of reversible and irreversible cell injury. In this, due to the decrease in O2 supply to the cells due to hypoxia and ischemia, there is the production of lactic acid due to anaerobic glycolytic mechanism or the metabolism, that causes the damage to sodium potassium pump, and due to this there is the lysosome release enzymes also get released, and that causes the damage to the mitochondria, and damage to mitochondria that leads to the cell death. So these are the cellular changes that occurs due to the decrease in the O2 supply to the cells. Then metabolic changes in shock. What are the metabolic changes that occurs in the shock? In this, the carbohydrate metabolism, the compensated shock, hyperglycemia due to increased hepatic glycolysis. Then in decompensated shock there is hypoglycemia due to hepatic glycogen depletion and increased consumption of glucose by tissues, and anaerobic glycolysis occurs as assessed by high blood levels of lactate and pyruvate. So these are the carbohydrate mechanism that having changes in the shock, in the compensated shock and in the decompensated shock. Then what happens in the protein metabolism? There is increased intracellular protein catabolism, conversion of amino acids to urea, and there is increased blood non-nitrogen proteins. In protein metabolism you will see increased intracellular protein catabolism, conversion of amino acids to urea, and increased blood non-nitrogen protein. And in fat metabolism you will see increased endogenous fat metabolism, rise of fatty acid level in blood. And in water and electrolyte disturbances you will see failure of sodium pump, and potassium leaves the cell, causes cellular swelling, as there is increase in the anaerobic glycolytic pathway that leads to the damage to the sodium potassium pump at the cell membrane, and that leads to the potassium to come out from the cell and enters the sodium into the cell, and along with sodium there is entry of water in the cell, and that causes the cellular swelling. And shock due to loss of plasma only in burns, that is hemoconcentration. Then in metabolic acidosis you will see that is hypoxia of kidney, renal function is impaired, blood levels of acids like lactate, pyruvate, phosphate and sulfate rise, causing metabolic acidosis. As there is decrease in the anaerobic metabolism, there is increase in the acid percentage in the body. Then in morphologic complications, what are the morphological complications? In morphologic changes in shock are due to hypoxia, resulting in degeneration and necrosis in various organs. As there is morphologic changes in the shock are due to hypoxia, that results in the degeneration and necrosis in various organs. The organs affected are brain, heart, lungs, kidney, adrenal and GIT. Due to this, the necrosis and degeneration, you will see morphological changes like degeneration and necrosis in different part of body, that is mainly in the brain, heart, lungs, kidney, adrenals and GIT. So what are these morphological changes? That we call the hypoxic encephalopathy, heart in shock, lung in shock, then kidney in shock. So these are different morphological changes you will see in the shock. That what you will see actually morphological changes, what you see in the brain in the condition of shock. In this, that we call it as a hypoxic encephalopathy. In this you will see that is compensated shock results in cerebral ischemia, which produce altered state of consciousness. However, if blood pressure falls below 50 mm of Hg, as in systemic hypotension in prolonged shock and cardiac arrest, brain suffers from serious ischemic damage with loss of cortical functions, coma and vegetative state. That is due to the hypovolemia to the brain or due to the reduced supply of blood to the brain, there is cerebral ischemia, and that leads to the unconsciousness, then stage of coma, and lastly the stage of death also, that is hypoxic encephalopathy. Then in heart, that is heart in shock, what happens to the heart? In this, two types of morphologic changes you will see in the heart. First one, that is hemorrhagic and necrosis, that is located in the subepicardial and the subendocardial region. That you see in the hemorrhage, there is a necrosis that in the subepicardial and the subendocardial regions, and the zonal lesions, that is opaque transverse contraction bands in a myocytes near the intercalated disc, that you will see in the heart in shock. Then shock in lung. What you see in lungs? In lung you will see lung have dual blood supply and generally not affected by hypovolemic shock. But in septic shock seen lung seen as symptoms of ARDS including congestion, interstitial and alveolar edema, interstitial lymphocytic infiltrate, alveolar hyaline membrane thickening and fibrosis of alveolar septa, fibrin and platelet thrombi in pulmonary microvasculature. That is, in lung, the lung is not more affected in hypovolemic shock as it having a dual blood supply, but it affects in the septic shock as there is septic shock. In septic shock you will see the symptoms of ARDS, that is acute respiratory distress syndrome, and you will see that is congestion, edema, lymphocytic infiltrate and alveolar hyaline membrane in the ARDS. So these are the changes you will see in the lungs in shock. Then shock kidney. In this you will see that is irreversible renal injury, that is important complication of shock. That is you will see the irreversible renal injury to the kidneys. That is renal ischemia following systemic hypotension is considered responsible for changes in shock that results in generally anuria and death. That is decreased in the urine output that leads to the anuria and death in the kidney in shock. Then in adrenals in shock, adrenals show stress response in shock that includes release of aldosterone in response to hypoxic kidney, release of corticoids from adrenal cortex and catecholamine like adrenaline from adrenal medulla, and severe shock results in adrenal hemorrhages. When there is severe shock you will see that is adrenal hemorrhages. So these are the changes you will see in adrenals in shock. Then in GIT you will see that is hypoperfusion of alimentary tract, mucosal and mural infraction called hemorrhagic gastroenteropathy. That is main changes that you see in the GIT in shock, that is hemorrhagic gastroenteropathy. And second one, that is in shock due to burns, acute stress, ulcers of stomach, that is Curling's ulcer, that you call the shock that is occur in burns that you see, that is Curling's ulcer in GIT in shock. And in liver you will see that is hypoxia, vidium is released, that is vasodilatation. Others includes focal necrosis, fatty change, impaired liver functions. That is in shock the liver functions get impaired. So these are the changes you will see in GIT and liver in shock. So this is shock and multi-organ failure. In this you will see that is central nervous system, you will see confusion, coma, intracerebral bleeding. In acute respiratory distress syndrome in lungs, then myocardial depression in heart. In liver you will see that is hyperbilirubinemia. In GIT you will see that is mucosal damage, hemorrhage, endotoxin leak to portal vein. Then in DIC that is bleeding from the vessel puncture sites. Then at skin you will see hemorrhage, infarcts, secondary DIC. Then at peripheral region you will see ischemia, gangrene, secondary to decreased flow of intravascular coagulation. Then poor urine output from the kidneys. Then cold cyanosed peripheral organs. Then tachycardia with low volume pulse. Then hypotension, tachycardia. Then confused, unresponsive, that you see in the brain. So these are the multi-organ failure in the condition of shock. In this way the shock, when there is occurrence of shock due to different etiological factors, it may be due to hypovolemia, it may be due to septic causes, it may be cardiogenic causes, it may be neurogenic causes, or it may be anaphylactic causes. that leads to the condition of shock. In this there is decreased in the that is what you see in the shock, that there is an acute reduction of effective circulating blood volume and inadequate perfusion of cells and tissue that leads to the clinical state of cardiovascular collapse, that we call it as a shock. So this is most important topic from the exam point of view also and from the clinical practice also. I think all of you understand. If any difficulty regarding shock, you can ask me personally anytime. So thank you friends.